Rodrigo Duterte won the Philippines presidential election in 2016. He promised to end crime within 6 months. This promise, however, included the killing of tens of thousands of criminals. Duterte's election led to the infamous war on drugs and in turn the shockingly overcrowded prisons throughout the Philippines. His career has sparked numerous protests and attracted immense controversy. Duterte has repeatedly confirmed to have personally killed criminal suspects during his term as mayor of Davao. Duterte even recruited jobless citizens, commanding them to straight up kill anyone even suspected of dealing, buying, or using drugs. And that includes cannabis as an illegal drug. In 2016, Duterte told the public, if you know of any addicts, go ahead and kill them yourself. Together, the Philippines police force and unidentified gunmen have killed 7,000 known drug dealers and users since Duterte's presidency in 2016. So if you are going to commit a crime, then you should know that the Philippines is not the place. Containing some of the world's most famous prisons, the Philippines has correctional institutes with some of the worst living conditions for prisoners on the planet. More than 5,000 inmates die each year at the maximum security Bilibid prison in the Philippines, which is around 20% of all inmates. Inmates in these prisons have to deal with overcrowding, lack of access to clean water and food, unsanitary conditions, and abuse by guards. Most of the deaths that occur are due to infectious diseases in overcrowded cells. Specifically, pulmonary tuberculosis, a highly contagious disease that can easily spread in crowded conditions. Stabbings, however, also contribute to the high death rate. It was reported in one hospital ward in the Bilibid prison, which has been criticized by the United Nations as well as Filipino authorities for not providing showers for inmates. Prisoners washed with water poured from drums. A former inmate at the Bilibid prison claimed that many prisoners there died due to being given food that had gone bad. A lot of them die because most of the food is already spoiled. They get weak, he said. A doctor at the new Bilibid prison was accused of taking bribes from influential prisoners in exchange for granting them extended access in the hospital section, away from the main prison areas. Serial killers and high-profile drug lords have been detained in the new Bilibid prison, where around 43% of inmates are incarcerated for homicide and physical injury-related crimes. Officers have also been known to force prisoners to hang like bats from bars for hours. There have been reports of prisoners being forced to sleep on concrete floors without any blankets or pillows. Many people who have been incarcerated report having no access to hygiene products or medical treatment, which is obviously an issue when you're living in such close quarters with other people and dealing with things like lice, scabies, and other skin infections. In addition to this lack of basic human rights in prison facilities across the country, many prisoners also report experiencing violence from guards and other inmates at some point during their incarceration, which includes sexual assault as well as physical abuse by guards or fellow inmates. Another major issue facing those incarcerated in these prisons is the fact that many prisoners are held for months or years without ever being charged with any crime. Instead, they're just kept locked up because there's nowhere else for them to go. Add to that, the prisons in the Philippines are filling up even more as the years go on. Many of these prisoners were located in jails in the National Capital Region. According to the World Prison Brief, 75.1% of incarcerations within the Philippines system are pre-trial. In 2018, 141,000 out of 188,000 prisoners were pre-trial detainees. So unfortunately, many people are serving sentences without conviction. Pre-trial detention is found in judicial systems all over the world. In countries like the Philippines, people may serve time that outweighs their crimes. On average, prisoners in the Philippines are detained for 9 months without being sentenced. One prisoner maintained his innocence for what he was charged with and pointed out that a large number of the prisoners have been waiting years just for a trial. Human Rights Watch noted in 2016 that many detainees have been in jail longer than the maximum sentence for their offense, including waiting up to 14 years. They also noted that 26% of Philippine courts are vacant of judges. The government has a hard time keeping up with building new prisons because of budget cuts and corruption on all levels of government, plus lack of funding from international donors. So if you're in the Philippines and you happen to end up at a prison there, then here are just 2 of the hundreds of prisons that share these similar problems that you'd want to avoid. One of the worst prisons is the new Bilibid prison, which we already have been talking about. Prison is located in Muntinlupa City, which is just north of Manila. The prison houses more than 20,000 inmates and has been known as one of the most dangerous prisons in all of Asia. In fact, the prison has been called one of Asia's top 10 most dangerous prisons, according to Al Jazeera News in 2016. Another horrible prison you do not want to end up in is the Manila City Jail, the largest jail in the Philippines. Problems and conditions we already discussed are very prevalent in this jail. It's overcrowded with a lack of space and beds for inmates, poor sanitation and ventilation, risk of disease outbreaks and violence, insufficient food and water, and limited access to healthcare and legal services are just a few of the problems facing this jail. The Philippines has a moderately high rate of crime and violence in general, and some major cities are plagued with crimes such as extortion, robbery, and kidnapping. There are about 120 million people living on less than $2 a day in the Philippines, and from 2010 to 2017, the number of inmates has more than doubled. So getting back to Duterte, his political success has been aided by his vocal support for the extrajudicial killing of drug users and other criminals. Duterte's war on drugs escalated during his presidency, and as I mentioned earlier, jobless citizens were recruited to kill anyone suspected of dealing, buying, or using drugs. This was one of few ways for some people to make money. Many homeless and impoverished people joined the vigilante teams, but the International Criminal Court opened a preliminary investigation into Duterte's drug war in 2018, and this prompted Duterte to withdraw the Philippines from the body in response. More recent incarceration numbers were even higher, 215,000 in 2019, and this is a significant prison population by itself, ignoring other factors, and the justifications for imprisoning so many in overcrowded prisons amid the drug war are very questionable. The Philippines has the second highest prison population density in the world, the system at 463% capacity nationwide. This number is objectively concerning when one tries to imagine fitting 4.5 times the maximum number of people a cell was designed for into it. The Philippines used to have the #1 prison congestion percentage, and this was in 2016 to 2017 at the height of Duterte's drug war. Then it was a staggering 605%. It has come down since then, but still remains alarmingly high. International criticism of Duterte's war on drugs includes the United Nations and a joint declaration on behalf of 40 states, including the United States, Canada, Australia, Germany, and basically all of Europe. The World Justice Project's Rule of Law Index in 2019 ranked the Philippines amongst the lowest. They came in at 90th out of 126 countries. The UN document also clarifies the Philippines as one of the 5 deadliest countries in the world for journalists. The European Union has continually stressed in its dialogue with the Philippines that the country must fulfill its obligations under the international conventions. So essentially what this means is that the Philippines' international reputation has taken a significant hit. As it is true that a key problem leading to the neglect of the Philippines prison system is of course its economic status. The Philippines is a developing country with a population of over 100 million people. It's been growing steadily in recent years but still faces many economic challenges, poverty, unemployment, corruption, and external shocks. Unlike other countries where prisons are run by a central authority or agency, prisons in the Philippines are divided into 3 types: detention centers managed by the national police, jail facilities overseen by local governments, and prisons and penal farms administered by national agencies. This creates confusion and inconsistency in policies and standards across different facilities. The CFR, speaking on Duterte's drug war, writes that looking at the public's response to the war on drugs, it has actually received a high level of popular support from across the class spectrum in the Philippines. The most recent nationwide survey on presidential performance and trust ratings showed that Duterte's approval rating was around 86%. Even though some people are concerned about these deaths, they support him as a president. The Philippine judicial system is very slow and perceived as corrupt, enabling Duterte to act proactively and address the issue of drugs in a non-constructive way with widespread violations of human rights. People are willing to tolerate this politician who promised something and is now delivering. Alright, so that's going to be it guys. Please let me know your thoughts and subscribe for more Squalid Suburbs. Thank you for watching.